World is one.
Hello, you're watching Race to Power. 7 days after the monsoon session was repeatedly washed out, Indian lawmakers are finally holding a debate on the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Amendment Bill, with the opposition questioning the government's latest changes to the law. On Race to Power, we get you all that happened through the day today. We also decode for you the violent clashes that took place in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir today amid elections and protests. Pakistani security forces reportedly fired upon locals who have been holding demonstrations against what they call our sham elections. All of this happening even as preliminary results show that the PMLN is winning in the first phase of the polls. We're getting you all the details in just a bit, but first, let's shift our focus to India and what's been happening in the parliament. The Indian Parliament is discussing paper leak, pellets and protests. After a complete washout of the first 6 days of the monsoon session, lawmakers agreed for a debate on the highly anticipated paper leak bill for 10 hours. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh opened the debate for the government, while Congress MP Gaurav Gogoi took the floor from the opposition's side. The showdown is centered around proposed amendments to the Public Examinations Prevention of Unfair Means Bill. The legislation is also being called the Anti-Paper Leak Bill. Now, the government aims to tame paper leak through stricter punishments, higher fines and time-bound resolution. But the opposition argues that the bill is essentially an eyewash. Now, under the proposed legislation, paper leak and related offences will attract 5 to 10 years of jail and 50 lakhs to 10 crore rupees fine. A special task force will conduct the investigation, which shall be completed within 2 months. The cases will be heard by a special fast-track court that will be established in every state and union territory. Any challenge to the verdict of the special court shall be heard by the High Court and disposed within 90 days, meaning every case of paper leak shall be wrapped up in 5 months. Now, the opposition has been demanding Prime Minister Modi and the Union Home Minister Amit Shah to be present inside the parliament. From paper leak to the police crackdown on protesters, opposition leaders tried to corner the government on multiple fronts. In fact, Rahul Gandhi is also expected to participate in this debate. Let's recap for you how this entire debate has unfolded on paper leak amendment bill in the Lok Sabha, from Priyanka Gandhi Vadra's sharp remarks to the government's defense. Take a look at what happened today.
The earlier bill and the amendment today are, in a way, a reaffirmation of this government's deep commitment to safeguard the welfare of the students and the youth of this country. And at the same time, it is also a reiteration of Prime Minister Modi ji's resolve not to allow anyone to compromise with the future of the children of Mother India.
आपको शर्म नहीं आती इस सरकार को कि जिस मंत्री के तहत में 21 बच्चों ने अपनी जान गंवा दी, आत्महत्या की, जब उसने अपने मंत्री पद से इस्तीफा दिया, कल जब वो सदन में आए आपने उनको ऐसा माला पहनाया ताकि जैसे वो पाकिस्तान से जंग लड़के आए हैं।
A law is a living instrument. It needs to evolve with the challenges that it faces. And in a democracy as complex as ours, in a democracy as large as ours, an examination is definitely the truest, most meritocratic ritual. Because this is one ritual where, under the same clock, the son of a laborer and the daughter of a CEO sit down, answer the same set of questions, and get judged by the same yardstick.
लाया गया है कि प्रिवेंशन ऑफ अनलॉफुल मींस एक्ट, सरकार को कम से कम ये बताना चाहिए था कि 2024 में जब ये लेकर के आए थे तो आज 2026 में कैसे पेपर लीक हो गए, और केवल गिनती के 1-2 पेपर लीक नहीं हुए हैं।
देश के युवाओं पर पैलेट गन्स और AK-47 चलवाने की क्या आवश्यकता थी? क्या वे आतंकवादी थे? क्या आतंकवादी हैं? टेररिस्ट हैं? हाँ, कांग्रेस बोल रही है। हाँ, कांग्रेस बोल रही है। जवाब दीजिए।
The student who is preparing for the next examination, he is more concerned about who is going to fix the system for the future, and he knows that this government under the Prime Minister Modi's leadership is trying to fix the system once and for all for the better for his future. Adhyaksh ji.
Now, while the government spoke of stringent action and quick legal redressal on matters concerning examination paper leaks in India, the reality has been unfolding in real time, and it is quite different. The first hearing in a newly constituted fast-track court for paper leaks was scheduled to be held on Monday. However, the hearing got postponed after the counsel for the Central Bureau of Investigation failed to appear in court. The fast-track court has been set up after Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced it last week. The leader first issued a statement on social media platform X, followed by a video message on Instagram, vowing strict action on the perpetrators of the NEET exam paper leak. In the meantime, a separate case is being heard in the Supreme Court pertaining to police crackdown during the protests in the national capital. A bench of Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, Justice Joymala Bagchi and Justice V. Mohanna have said that anyone who committed excesses or took the law into their own hands during the nationwide protests over the alleged NEET paper leak must be held accountable. The court also directed all states to release students who were arrested or detained if they have no criminal antecedents. The bench in fact said that no coercive action be taken against students for the time being, while ordering the preservation of all electronic evidence relating to the protests. The court also directed states to ensure that personal information and digital data of the protesters are preserved and are not brought in public domain, at least for the time being. The bench also heard petitions filed on behalf of the injured police officers and media persons. The court observed that all allegations placed before it warrant an independent and impartial probe. The petitions will be heard next on the 3rd of August. Moving on, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir has been marred by police violence. Over 14 people have been killed in the last 24 hours. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, in a post on X, showed solidarity with Spain as it battled wildfire, but he's yet to speak on the killings in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. These are the visuals from Mirpur, where a busy marketplace erupted into chaos. Smoke can be seen billowing from a nearby shop amid continuous sounds of gunshots. People left their belongings on the street to hide for cover. Moments later, a police van entered the scene to pick up the victims. Clashes were reported in Rawalakot as well. For a second consecutive day, remember, ambulances were seen carrying injured protesters. Earlier, Pakistani police and protesters clashed during the first phase of polling in the region. Several were allegedly killed on Monday evening. According to the Awami Action Committee, POK-based outfit leading the protests, at least 67 people have been killed by Pakistani forces between 5th of June and 28th of July in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. In fact, the Joint Awami Action Committee, or the JAAC, has repeatedly accused Pakistani security forces of opening fire on the protesters. Despite the violent crackdown, massive crowds of protesters have been participating in long marches from Rawalakot to Muzaffarabad. The surge in violence, remember, comes as Pakistan tries to hold elections in the region. Protesters are demanding the end of 12 refugee seats in the assembly. Pakistan claims that these seats aim to provide representation to refugees belonging to the Indian side of Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan's ruling party, the PMLN, has meanwhile won 9 out of 13 seats that went to polls during the first phase of the elections in POK. The results were declared amid the violence and allegations of rigging. India's External Affairs Ministry, meanwhile, has called it a cosmetic exercise which aims to camouflage Pakistan's illegal occupation and hide its grave human rights violations in the region. New Delhi also reiterated that Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir are integral part of India.
The current cosmetic electoral exercise is nothing but an attempt by Pakistan to camouflage its illegal occupation and hide its grave human rights violations in the region.
All right, let me welcome my guests on Race to Power tonight. Adil Farooq Raja joins us. He's a journalist and former military officer of the Pakistan Army. He's joining us from London at the moment. Major Raja, good evening and welcome to WION. I want to start by asking you what you make of what has been happening specifically today. So many casualties amid the fact that Pakistani establishment claims that they're holding a so-called democratic procedure called elections, yet you see the killings against all these demonstrators.
Yeah, the protest which started 48 days ago, today is day 48 of the current round of protest. They started as protest for civic rights and basic rights such as, because of the livelihoods impacted by inflation, people wanted cheap electricity, maybe because water produces hydropower, and hydropower, most of the water in Pakistan comes from Kashmir. So the people in AJK wanted the facilities which they think are their right and which are basic human rights actually in any modern society. But the problem is that the Pakistani military-led establishment cannot fulfill these demands because the social contract has already been broken between the people and the state, because to fulfill these demands you need to have a functioning economy, you need to have, let's cut to the chase, enough money to fulfill the demands of the people. But the Pakistani state is on a ventilator economically right now, metaphorically speaking. It is running on one economic bailout to the next economic bailout, and the priority is debt servicing, and then the second priority is defense spending. So you do not simply have enough for the public sector development expenditures left to fulfill the demands of these protesters. And then, spectacularly, the so-called hard state concept of Field Marshal Asim Munir came forward, in which once you obviously cannot fulfill the demands of the people, then you go on and you use force on the people, and force have been used. And let me tell you that this is nothing new. For 78 years, this has been going on. And once you talk about elections, well, elections have been managed by the military in Pakistan for 78 years in their own favor. It's nothing new. The only difference this time around is that there is awareness to this massive corruption and electoral rigging by the military-led establishment. There's a massive discontent and dissent within the people of Pakistan, and as a result, the Pakistani state typically is resorting to violence to suppress the dissent.
So Major Adil, you're saying that the Pakistani establishment doesn't have the money. They're not giving the resources that should be given technically and ideally to their local citizens. And now they have, Pakistani security forces even killing people who are demonstrating, demanding basic rights. And amid all of this, I want to understand from you, the first phase of election results, at least the preliminary results, are out. And they suggest that PMLN, which is led by Nawaz Sharif and Shehbaz Sharif, is leading in the region. What do you make of these results? And, the second, of course, is the PPP, which is led by the Bhuttos.
All right, let me tell you this. Go to my X profile, formerly Twitter profile, @SoldierSpeaks. And 48 hours before the election, I made a public announcement, I made a public statement that the Pakistani military establishment led by Field Marshal Asim Munir has promised the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz and Maryam Nawaz and Nawaz Sharif that they are going to win the election and they are going to, get the maximum votes in this election. And that is how Pakistan operates. May it be February 2024 elections or may it be the current first round of elections in Mirpur divisions of AJK. I had, publicly stated based on based on the information given to me by the Pakistani intelligence community that the election would be rigged in favor of PMLN, and as per the reports, after 48 hours, out of 13 seats, 10 are being, been given to, allotted to by the military, by the military-led establishment to PMLN. And that is why people came out on streets to protest. And instead of listening, registering their grievances, they were directly fired upon. And you're right that 67 people have been killed so far in last 48 days. But my report suggests that there are more than 100 people who have been killed. And so where are, the question is then, where are 30 or so dead bodies? Well, dead bodies are being stolen as a result of the protest. In 26th November 2024 at Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, there was a massive protest and the military opened fire, direct fire on the people after the last light, and 105 dead bodies were stolen then, allegedly. And now again there are allegations of dead bodies being stolen. So the election results were already decided. This is not an election, this is selection. And irrespective of less than 10% voter turnout, they have decided to give away the election to, as per the settlements behind closed doors. So this is no election. This is a mockery of the election process. And that is what the Pakistani military-led establishment is used to. And because of these practices, there is political instability. And because of political instability, there is economic instability.
All right, I'll leave it there. Major Adil Farooq Raja, thanks very much for joining us and giving us a perspective of what's been happening in the POK. Hopefully, there will be no more killings and, local innocent civilians will be spared by the Pakistani security forces. But thanks very much for joining us at the moment on WION.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, moving on. U.S. President Donald Trump is meeting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the same day. Both meetings, remember, carry completely different aims, objectives and agenda. Israel has been pushed to the sidelines of Trump's war against Iran, while Zelensky has been seeking more pressure on Russia. Both these meetings will take place hours before the leaders join the funeral ceremony of the late Republican and Trump's close aide, Lindsey Graham. In fact, even in his absence, Lindsey Graham will be at the center of the agenda. Remember, he was a Republican who backed Ukraine and supported military action against Iran. In his final days, Graham was working on Russian sanctions package. As Zelensky meets Donald Trump today, the focus will be on emergency military assistance for Ukraine and Graham's sanctions legislation. Passing Lindsey Graham's proposal would cement his final policy initiatives as a U.S. Senator. Zelensky, meanwhile, will meet all 100 members of the U.S. Senate as well. After Volodymyr Zelensky, Donald Trump is expected to hold a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister. Iran is likely to dominate these discussions. Remember, United States and Iran have paused the strikes against each other, and back-channel talks are underway to reach a final deal. But the same drill has repeated so many times that it's now hard to conclude anything until the guns go absolutely silent. Now, these meetings come at a critical time for Donald Trump, as well as for Benjamin Netanyahu particularly. Remember, the US is going for the midterm elections in November this year, and Israel is scheduled to hold the general elections in October. The outcome of both electoral events could redefine the course of the Iran war. Meanwhile, a new Reuters Ipsos poll found that nearly 7 in 10 Americans believe that President Donald Trump has not clearly explained the goals of the US military's involvement in Iran. This includes around 4 in 10 Republican voters. And despite this, Trump's overall approval rating has now risen to 37%, an increase by 3 points from last month. The conflict began after the US and Israel launched strikes against Iran on the 28th of February this year. And since then, support for the war has remained below 40%. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has unveiled plans to front city-owned grocery stores that will offer up to 30% discounts on produce, meat, and 20 other essential food items to help residents cope with rising prices. Now, this plan includes one city store in each of the 5 boroughs of NYC or New York City. Now, the discount will be available to all New Yorkers, regardless of income, with stable prices. City officials estimate the plan could save households around $1,000 a year on groceries. The mayor said that no New Yorker should have to worry about being able to afford to feed their family. The plan calls for one store in each of the city's 5 boroughs, with the first expected to open in Hunts Point in the Bronx by the end of 2027. All 5 stores are scheduled to be operational by the end of his 4-year term. City officials say that private operators will manage the day-to-day running of the stores, while the administration will provide the store fronts and cover the rental costs as well as property taxes. To address concerns from the local businesses, Mamdani said that the stores will not sell hot food, beer or cigarettes, adding that the aim is to make grocery more affordable rather than compete with private grocery stores. Moving on, world leaders arrived in Peru for the inauguration of President-elect Keiko Fujimori in Lima. Fujimori, remember, won on the 7th of June in a presidential runoff by fewer than 50,000 votes after losing the past 3 runoffs. Peru's electoral court declared the right-wing politician Keiko Fujimori president-elect on the 3rd of July, making her the first woman elected by popular vote to lead the country after one of the closest presidential races in its recent history. The 51-year-old came head-to-head with leftist Roberto Sanchez, with her campaign shadowed by the divisive legacy of her father, Alberto Fujimori, who ruled Peru in the 1990s. Fujimori will be Peru's 10th president since 2016, following a tumultuous decade in which no leader completed a full 5-year term. A day ahead of her inauguration, President-elect Fujimori met with officials at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, including the Spanish King, Philip VI, Japan's State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Hori Iwao, and China's Minister of Science and Technology, Yin He-jun. Among the arrivals at Peru are also the President of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, Panama President Jose Raul Molino, and the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, Christopher Landau. As per Peru's election body, Fujimori defeated leftist rival Roberto Sanchez after a runoff, securing over 50% of the valid ballots against Sanchez's 49.8%. The result closed a 22-day scrutiny process and cleared the way for a transfer of power from the outgoing president, Jose Balcazar. Fujimori has a long political trajectory, from appearances with her father, former President Alberto Fujimori, in the 1990s, to her campaigns. She reached the presidency on her 4th attempt after narrow runoff defeats in 2011, 16, and 21, and after spending time in pre-trial detention during an investigation into alleged money laundering cases. The Constitutional Court dismissed the case in 2025. Her victory, remember, came in a country marked by political instability, rising concerns over crime, and deep divisions over the legacy of her father, who spent 16 years in prison for human rights abuses. Shifting our focus now to India, in a big setback to Vijay's TVK government in Tamil Nadu, the Madras High Court has cancelled the job appointments to the kin of the Karur stampede victims. The judgment comes, remember, less than 3 weeks after Chief Minister Vijay distributed appointment letters to the families of the victims. A division bench of Justices C.V. Karthikeyan and R. Saktivel held that the state's order granting jobs to the families of the stampede victims was contrary to Articles 14 and 16 of the Constitution, which guarantee equality before law and equal opportunity in public employment. The High Court observed that public jobs must be earned through constitutional framework governing recruitment and should not be thrown away by the state. The Tamil Nadu government argued that it used its executive powers under Article 162 of the Constitution, but the court remarked that executive authority cannot be exercised beyond constitutional limits. The judges warned that allowing such appointment would inevitably open the door to similar demands following other tragedies. Instead, the court suggested that the government could have invested in technical education, entrepreneurship, and skill development for the affected families. Earlier this month, during his first ever visit to Karur since the tragic stampede last year, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister had offered government job appointments to the kin of 32 out of the 41 stampede victims. The opposition DMK had challenged Vijay's move, but the Madras High Court had then refused to stay the job appointments, saying that the appointments would come under judicial purview. The court has now struck down the government order, rendering the appointments null and void. The decision is a big setback to Vijay's TVK government in the state. Vijay had used this occasion to hit out the opposition DMK as well as the AIADMK. Following the court order, the DMK has hit out at Vijay's TVK government and they've accused it of playing with the emotions of the Karur victims. In fact, the party has also questioned the decision to offer employment without ensuring its legal sustainability. With that, it's a wrap on Race to Power tonight. As always, we'll keep getting you political updates and in-depth analysis. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Vielleicht nur als